Order. This is the Transport Select Committee's one-off evidence session with the Secretary of State for Transport. For the record, perhaps I could ask the Secretary of State to introduce himself.
I'm Grant Shapps, the Secretary of State for Transport, and I'm alongside my Permanent Secretary, Bernadette Kelly.
Well, it's great to see you, Secretary of State, and great to see you, Ms Kelly, as well. Welcome back. It's a busy time for you both. Wanted to ask a sort of few topical matters that are currently in the news, first of all, before we go through the many sections that we have over the next couple of hours. Firstly, there's issues with protesters on the M25 roads, very much your responsibility. Are there sufficient powers for the police to deal with this, or are the police just not using the powers that currently exist?
I think the police have been increasingly stepping up their action, but as we've seen, sometimes it's the same protesters going back a day or two later and protesting again. So the powers don't allow for the police to hold people for more than 24 hours, and that is creating a problem. Last night, yesterday, I instructed National Highways, formerly Highways England, to seek an injunction, which was granted last night and will become effective later today. An injunction means that if those protesters don't take note, then they could be in contempt of court, and that could incur imprisonment. So, you know, it barely needs saying, but it's irresponsible, it's dangerous, it's completely counterproductive because it actually creates pollution and unacceptable behaviour, which I hope this injunction brings to a close.
Are you confident that the police will enforce? Because there's obviously been footage, and my constituents have raised it, of police talking to those who are on the motorway, but not actually taking them off the motorway.
I saw some of those pictures. I think earlier in the process, obviously it becomes a Home Office issue, but earlier in the process, I think there was a somewhat different approach being taken. I noted yesterday that the police were on the scene very, very quickly and seemed to be removing protesters from what I saw much faster. The injunction will greatly strengthen their hand because, as I say, the same people then can't come back out. Well, if they do, they're in danger of imprisonment and a fine, which a law protects the road under the law much more effectively.
I was going to bring a second topical question up, but I think Carl McCartney wants to come in on that same subject.
Thank you, Chairman. Were you and your colleagues in the Home Office and Cabinet as incredulous as many of us were and our constituents were at the type of police action that was initially taken? Because you just mentioned this police action is going to be taken. There are different types of police action, and you and I both know that. Is the police action going to be more robust, as many law-abiding citizens in this country would expect it to be?
Well, I know both myself and the Home Secretary earlier in the week called for the protesters to be removed instantaneously. We do not think it's acceptable to go and stand on a road. It's bloody dangerous. It's obviously inconvenient. It's also completely counterproductive. I mean, it actually creates pollution to have that traffic standing still. And of course, we want the police to act quickly on it. I think we've seen them speed up their actions, but also to make sure that they have the legal resource, and this interim injunction will do precisely that. But I absolutely share the annoyance and anger of motorists and everyone else. It's unacceptable for this behaviour to continue, and I hope that the court action that I prompted National Highways into is a considerable assistance. Thank you.
Do you think it's likely that Parliament will need to grant more legislative powers to deal with this situation?
We will review the powers because clearly it's unacceptable for people to be able to walk onto not just major highways but a motorway, stop the traffic and be released the next day and do the same thing again. So of course we'll have to keep the powers under review, and an injunction may just be an interim way of doing that, so the answer is yes.